first things first, we want to start off with something we all been waiting to talk about. We were supposed to talk about it last time we was all together, but I hadn't seen it yet, and that's the Dave Chappelle Special 846. Gotta know what y'all thought about this because I know y'all been dying to let me know exactly what it was for y'all.
Can I go first, please?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Okay. So there's for those of you who haven't seen it, this is all spoilers because I'm going to reference this many, many times. There's a point in the show. If you've never seen Dave Chappelle, he is probably one of the best storytellers, not just comedic wise, but in business. Like he's one of the best storytellers because like he'll drop a nugget for something, right? Talking about how afraid George Floyd was and called out for his dead mother, right? And then he told this whole story about how he was in this apartment and the earthquake hit, and it couldn't have lasted any more than I think he said like 8 to 10 seconds. But talked about how that was the most afraid he was in his life, and I thought that was a perfect way for people to relate to. Because I thought about the moment in time I was the most afraid for my life. I had hydroplaned in Bernice going down to Dee and Jamie's house, and my car had slid off the road. I was by myself going down, now speeding because I've driven down that road hundreds of times. And there's a light pole on the way down there, and I was probably doing 55, 60, and it just rained. My car slid off the road, and my car was headed for that light pole on the driver's side. Most terrified I've ever been in my life. Couldn't have lasted any more than 10, 15 seconds. You know, I swerve and I'm doing my thing. And then Dave Chappelle says he was scared for 8 to 10 seconds. This man was afraid and pleading for his life for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I could not imagine if you took my scenario where I was most afraid in my life and made that last for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I'd have died. I'd have had a heart attack. I'd have died of fear and shock, right? So I thought that was a brilliant way for people to think about the moment they were most afraid in their life. Because it often doesn't last that long, right? It's a few seconds, a minute maybe, right? And he talked about how this man saw his life flash before his eyes and how he called out for his dead mother, right? And that made me think about my father who recently passed, you know, because you were there, how he was seeing and calling out for dead people in the twilight, his life, right? You know, and so like that little story he told resonated with me a lot, right? So just think about that from a human standpoint. Right? Think about the most afraid you've ever been, and there's somebody who is imposing this on you, right? Dave Chappelle's instance, right, was just Mother Nature doing his thing. My instance was nobody's fault. I mean, not even really my own. Like I was driving, shouldn't have maybe been driving that fast, but like no one put that fear on me. Like I was still in control of my point, but George Floyd wasn't. And I thought Dave Chappelle did a great job of like bringing that full circle. Because we've all probably had moments, whether we were young or adults, where it's like, I'm afraid for my life. They didn't last that long, 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I can't imagine. Like I can't even comprehend what it would have been like to be in that car swirling toward that light pole, and what I thought was like, I'm finna be hurt. Like, I don't know if I'm going to die, but I know this is going to hurt. What if no one finds, like, you know, 1,000 things go through my at that time. And it was only 15, 20 seconds. Couldn't imagine if it was 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That really resonated with me.
Yeah.
So actually,
go ahead.
I want to jump off of that one because literally that was the most memorable part, obviously, of the entire show. I'm just going off that because for me it hits. I got two examples. Actually, one is almost the exact same scenario. Truck, hydroplane. I don't know if you remember when our truck got messed up a couple years back. But to me, it was a bit more than just. I've always heard the phrase that whenever something's happening, adrenaline actually hits you. I've only ever had this true adrenaline probably twice in my life. One was during this accident that I'm mentioning, truck hydroplaned, and I was actually going on a curve, going from Bernice to Ruston, right on those two double bridges. As soon as you pass that curve, but I was heading from Ruston to Bernice. So on that curve, my truck hydroplanes, and I'm going 60 miles an hour. There's a couple of tornadoes happening in Farmerville at the time, so the weather was bad everywhere. Literally, the truck starts turning, and I start facing the wall of mud and trees. So the front of the truck is facing that way. I'm trying to steer the truck to try and make sure it doesn't hit. Truck's above on water. It's not touching anything. Too late. Before I even get the first turn fully done, the truck gets traction, rams straight into the wall, and then it spins. Total, 2 360s and a 180 for the truck. At that moment, everything just instantly slowed down. Like, I know I wasn't looking at the back of the truck. I was looking forward, trying to control what was happening. But those few seconds felt like they lasted for fucking ever. Like, I could see things flying. I became super aware of everything going on around me. And I was like, fuck, this could be it. What made it worse was that I had a cast on my hand at the time from when I messed up my fingers. So it was hard for me even to gain control at that time. But yes, the entire hit, everything that was happening, slow motion. And that was just a few seconds. Imagine if you had that same adrenaline running, and those few seconds felt like an eternity. I can't imagine how long even a minute like that would have felt. That was the first. That's the most recent example I can give. The second example I can give is whenever I was actually, I want to say I was 13, 12, my first trip to Mexico. And new country, I don't know what the deal is over there, but I was walking around the plaza, the center of the town, minding my own business, right? And I've been warned a million times that if you're going somewhere and you're foreign, to be careful because things don't necessarily things happen. You might get in trouble. Someone might just try and kidnap you. Someone had recently been kidnapped. So anyway, those things were going in my mind. As I was walking around the plaza, there's a guy who basically recognized me. I don't know how he recognized me, but he starts following me. And I didn't realize this except the fact that I went to go get ice cream and then I went to go visit my aunt. And then I was fixing to leave. As I was leaving, I noticed that he was at the ice cream store and he was at the store where my aunt was the entire time. I'm like, wait, so this guy was at both places where I was. I was like, so I got a little paranoid. Whatever. I walked to the opposite side, going the opposite direction of where I was supposed to go. Next thing you know, he's there too. A little bit of panic just starts kind of ringing in my heart at that time. A little bit of panic. So I know that my aunt is gone. I have my cousin who works at I guess you call it the town hall, which is attached to the plaza. I started walking to there. I was hoping she was working. I didn't know if she was working or not. I walk in there. I start circling the place looking for her. Next thing you know, I see the guy. I was like, fuck. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I'll go to the second floor where there's a lot more people. He won't dare do anything there, right? And plus, I'm in town hall. Like, this place is, 2 stories, a bunch of people inside. There's no way he would try and do anything. I go up. I start walking around again looking for my cousin. Next thing you know, the guy, I see him walk, and he started to chase me. This is not anything in general. Like, I noticed he starts coming after me. Like, no, not like running or sprinting, but he was effortlessly coming after me. I started freaking, panicking. I literally am on the opposite side where the stairs are at. I'm trying to run all the way around. He runs the opposite way. I go down the stairs. He grabs me. At that moment, I literally was having a mini panic attack. I have no clue who the fuck this guy is. I have no clue what's going on. The only saving grace, again, me being ignorant, me being 12, 13 years old, not knowing what the fuck is going on, I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I was fortunate enough to find out that it was a prank. The guy was one of my dad's best friends growing up, but I never met him.
That's the worst prank ever to play on a child.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have you never seen Taken? That's not funny.
Yes.
So that's the thing. Like, for me, that's what it was. Like, it freaked me out because he was following me around everywhere. And I literally had no clue who this guy was. He said I met him when I was a kid. I was 2. I'm not going to remember him. What the fuck?
Because could you imagine if they sent Uncle Blundy out after us?
I was just finna say it. Fuck no. Still don't fuck with Blundy like that.
So to me, that was the thing. Like, those are the 2 times when I literally could say that adrenaline felt like, again, that chase, it happened within a span of a couple minutes. To me, it didn't feel like that at all. I felt like it went on all day because, again, I became aware of everything. I couldn't even, I found my cousin near the end. That's because I got lucky and she ended up being there after all and she told me who it was. To this day, I still don't trust the guy.
Yeah, that's pretty. She got PTSD from that shit.
We can
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Trust me, definitely.
It hits hard, and it basically goes back to the message. Like, if you were that scared, and that's the thing is, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, with the accident, I didn't know what was going to happen. With this, I didn't know what was going to happen. The issue was that this man knew he was going to die. He knew it. And to me, that makes it even scarier, a scarier thought than not knowing what's going to happen, because you know what's happening next. And depending on how you perceive death, I mean, like, that's some scary, scary shit. But the last thing I want to mention about Dave Chappelle is great storyteller. I like the way he's able to make references, but I will say he called it. He called all this shit for years. He's probably been the most active, vocal person about this subject there is as far as comedy or anything in general. That's about it.
All right. So I listen, here's my thing with the special. Is because one, couple things. One, I didn't know that's what it was. I thought it was an actual comedy special. And there are a couple moments in there where you chuckle, but like that's definitely it was serious the whole fucking time. I was just kind of wondering, like, do these people pay for this? Because I'm pretty sure they thought they were coming to see catch some jokes and shit. But like that's definitely not what you got. Like he in here basically preaching a whole sermon. Here's another thing about the whole situation. I still, to this day, have not ever seen a George Floyd video. So the reason when I'm looking at it and it's called 846, I don't know why it's called 846. So once I press play and I start hearing, I'm like, you mean to tell me this motherfucker choked him for 8 minutes and 46 seconds? Like, I couldn't imagine. I've been in, like, you can't even sit in a car in the sun without an AC for 8 minutes, 46 seconds. Damn, they go that in. Somebody like pressed against your neck. I've seen the image, but like I've never seen any footage at all. I've only seen like one picture still of it, and that's it. So him talking about it and just bringing everything into perspective, like whole stuff with COVID, the whole stuff where the officer kind of like got onto his partner and then he ended up getting fired from the LAPD. I think it was LAPD, and then ended up killing some other cops. Then had all those cops after him because like they felt like, hey, okay, this guy killed one of us. We have to get him. And so the reason the thing that bothers me so much is why. And I think he perfectly put him into perspective. Like, how do y'all not understand why the fuck all those black people are fucking pissed off when you kill one of ours, and not even one of ours? It's like it's happened so many times. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I'm just the guy. I'm the guy who's kind of like, I'm appreciative of like the awareness that's happening now, but I'm also kind of like, God damn, do y'all really mean to tell me this is the first time y'all have ever realized this shit happened? This is the first fucking time you've heard stories. All the other times you not believe it, the times with the other times you seen it on camera, motherfucker get murdered. This is the only time y'all actually think, or is it now now's the final straw? It should have been a final straw ages ago, but but like he kind of like pretty much like tells that whole thing, and I'm just like, what? I don't understand people. I don't understand the country. How can you not comprehend why the fuck people are mad? Like it should be obvious, but you know.
The issue is it's systemic.
Right, because you make a good point. I want to acknowledge this first. I'd have been hella mad if I paid that money to see Dave Chappelle.
Oh, fucking pissed.
And he got up there and said, no jokes. I'm out here in this pandemic trying to get some laughs. You up there serious and preaching. I didn't even think about that. That's funny. But
man,
you're right though. Like it's so confusing how they don't see it. Like you're right. When any person, white, black, Mexican, Asian, Blasian, Mexican, kills a cop, they in it. Like they lock arms. We got to get him. We got to, and more times than not, you kill a cop, you end up dead. You're not getting no trouble.
Yeah, you ain't going no fucking. They killing you.
Right. It is. It's so confusing how they don't understand. Like you guys have been, for no reason whatsoever, killing black people since we've been in this country, right? You know, and I think people are shocked. We're like, it's 2020. Like, you know, we have all these anti-segregation laws, and black people can do this, and black people can do this, and it's funny, not funny, but I saw a quote today from Will Smith, y'all boy, and he said, racism isn't getting worse; it's getting filmed. We're in a world now where it's like black people can show the world what's happened. It's not these localized regional events, because let's be real, if something like that happens in Bernice 20 years ago, it probably only makes it to Monroe News, if it makes it that far. And it's probably a little 10 to 20 second clip. Oh, whatever. Nobody makes a big fuss about it. But when you got people who have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, tens of millions of followers, or whatever the case may be, and you put this stuff on social media, it takes no time for it to get there. Now I agree with you, right? Like as all men of color, we've seen this, we've experienced this stuff. This stuff has been happening since before we've been on the planet. Now, for whatever reason, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm appreciative of, because I try to keep in my mindset, be appreciative, better late than never, right? Because George Floyd could have easily been one of us.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's what bothers me the most, right? Like Fred, you know, we even you, cuz like we're none of us live in Bernice anymore, where everybody knows who we are. Right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We're in these cities now, and all it takes is one white person for us to be in the wrong spot. And they just don't want us there because of the color of our skin. And the next thing we know, our lives are in danger because we decided to go to this park or this gas station or this ice cream parlor or whatever the case may be, right? And so for me, like, that's the part that bothers, because I kind of been the same way. Like, you know, these black men dying, I'm just like, that's black in America. You know, I think even as a black man, I kind of got to the point, I don't want to say accepted it, but maybe numb to it, or like it's our lives, right? It's
realism sunk in.
It's realism. Like it's a part of being a black man in America. We just kind of accept the fact, and we kind of tiptoe the line when we're in all white environment or all white. We kind of walk that line. But I'm glad that it's happening. I'm glad change is happening. But you're right, Fred. It's systemic, right? Like white people for years have benefited from, you know, laws and policies from local, state, and federal levels to where they didn't have to see it. They didn't have to notice it, right? Like they live in their all-white neighborhoods. They watch their all-white TV shows, right? Like they have no black friends. They're not a part of any black community, right? Like they tend to appropriate a lot of our culture and other cultures for their own liking, but they don't know what it's like. They have no idea what it's like. It's like you listen to a lot of black comedians, right? Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, Mike Epps, who pick one, and they tell these stories about being black, having that uncle who got out of prison, or that aunt who bakes, or whatever the case may be. Like these are all commonalities that black people can relate to, right? Growing up in the streets, eating bologna sandwiches, eating mayonnaise sandwiches, right? All these things.
Yeah.
I worked at a job a couple of years ago. I was the one of only black person, and another black person started working there, and they brought some hot water cornbread. We just call it cornbread, but hot water cornbread to lunch. Like they ate it for lunch. None of the white people knew what it was. They had no idea what that cylinder-shaped thing.
Yeah.
And I remember us going around and asking every time. Well, there was only a few of us there, but I remember when someone else would show up to the office or get hired, we would ask them, "Do you know what hot water cornbread is?" And I'm not making this up. Their response was the same every time. Hot water cornbread? And it's like, that's a staple in the Southern black. I just heard from like the South in our family. Like that's
yeah.
in Southern Black houses, just like the tortilla is for y'all, Fred. Like, we eat it with a lot of meals. Like a whole, and the fact that like these white people had no clue what it was. And it's just, I'm just using that as an example to be like, in order to understand the Black pain and the Black problem, you got to want to know. You got to get in there. You got to.
Exactly.
Right. You got to try your best to understand and ask questions without being offensive. And then at the same time, like Black people, we got to kind of have a little bit of patience, because if some white people are trying to understand, I think some of the questions they ask may come off as offensive, but if it comes from the right place and they're trying to understand, like, shit, we didn't know that when you get pulled over, it's the whole thing. Because there was the coach of the Longhorns in Austin, he had made a Twitter post talking about when he gets pulled over, he sees the lights flashing behind him. All he's worried about is, damn, how much is this ticket gonna be? But he said his Black friends are like, am I gonna make it home tonight?
Yeah.
Right. Make sure I got my hands on the wheel. I'm looking at him because, yes, sir, no, sir, making sure you're doing all these things right so that I can just make it home. The least of my best case scenario, I get a ticket and I get to go home safely. He doesn't actually my car. I don't get put in handcuffs. Like, best case scenario, I get a $200-$300 ticket and I pay it off. Like, that's the best case scenario. Because, like, it's not often like I'm thinking about getting let off, or, you know what I mean? Oftentimes we ask to step outside of our vehicle, all these questions. Why are you over here? All this other stuff. White people have no idea what that world is like.
Bro, it's just like a natural feeling of like, for a Black person, most of the time, a Black person see a cop, bro, it's just an uneasiness that comes across. Bro, for my birthday, I promise you God, we was out, they threw me a surprise party. You know what I'm saying? We all out here chilling. I know no polices ever. When I tell you ever, since I've been here for about a year and a half, 2 years, how long I've been here, never come down this street. We all out there posted in the front yard. 2 cops go down the street. We immediately look at each other like, yo, something ain't right. Like, something ain't right. Like, this is absolutely never happened. So just so happened they was parked on some people's yard they were supposed to. And I feel like the only way that shit got resolved easily is because one of the girls with us was a DA. So she knew the cops.
Oh.
Only way. All of us were kind of just like, fuck. Like, this whole mood it's like, dude, I'm telling you, the party was great. Everybody was smiling. Seeing the cops roll down the street, it's straight Black people and my one white partner, Devin. Other than that, we just all just kind of like, fuck. Because we all knew, like, the people who live here were like, bro, we've never seen no cops ever on this street. Like,
I mean, the street you live on is basically like on the side. There was no reason for a cop to go by there unless they're going there.
And both of them rolled out just like, and like people don't, and like Devin was kind of like, I'm like, he's definitely one of those people. Devin's white. He's definitely one of those people who is definitely learning and understanding. Like, damn, like he'll text me after it wasn't even. It was before George Floyd. I think it was Ahmaud.
Ahmaud Arbery.
Yeah.
Ahmaud Arbery.
When that stuff happened to him, like, Devin just texted me. He just like, bro, I'm sorry. Like, if anything I could do, I hate that you have to go through this. Or, I hate that you have to live your life and feel like people. And like I said, there's people like him who want to understand, and there's some people who just kind of like, for what? What do I need to learn about this for?
Right.
Like, this ain't got nothing to do with me.
See, I'm not trying to make this too nerdy, but actually, before the video started, I mentioned that my wife and I were catching up on Naruto. One of my favorite quotes is actually from Itachi, and it actually summarizes the difference between how people see their lives. So, and I know I've said this quote to multiple different people, and they've taken it in multiple different ways. That's how I know where they kind of stand. The quote is, "Knowledge and awareness are vague, and perhaps better called illusions. everyone within their own subjective interpretation. So basically, everyone lives in what they perceive as reality, even though that might not actually be the actual reality. So I don't say it word for word. I usually submit it saying that everybody has their own personal reality, and then depending on their reaction, which I've told one certain person this, and she commented, "It's just reality. It's what it is. I mean, like, it's no big deal." And then that's when I start hitting things that she's not aware of, and like, I'm not sure about that. So you could tell that I'm not saying that white privilege is real, but basically there is a benefit and there is a privilege to having
Oh,
a
it's
different
definitely
skin,
it's
having a
real.
different skin. Yeah, exactly. Having a different skin tone that you don't have to worry about certain things.
And sir, there are certain people in the older generation who just don't understand that. But like I said, in a lot of these cases, there it's all up to people to learn. And me personally, I do think the generation that's coming up after us, the generation of white people coming up after us, are more in tune to like. Eventually, I ain't gonna say it'll never be completely gone, but I do think it'll slowly get better. Now, I'm gonna be real. I'm not the person who thinks, okay, what we doing now is great, and that's setting up for the next generation. I don't think what we might get to see is gonna be the result of what's happening now. You know what I'm saying? I think it might even be beyond that. Like a lot of people think it's just gonna happen in like a year or the next 5.
It's
Definitely
not.
not gonna be that. It's gonna be a while before this shit.
The issue is it's a system. It's from the ground up.
It's
From
a
the ground up mentality. Studies have shown that once you're past the age of 8, your personality is set in. That means if your personality is based around, because you like, I love what Dave Chappelle said. You never see a racist baby. Have you ever seen a racist baby? No. This is
built. It's built.
it's built
Yeah.
up. It's made. It's there's no way we can combat this during our lifetime. And I hate to say that, but it's true. We can be able to make it better, but it won't necessarily be the end result we need, like you're mentioning. But I mean, like, huh?
We both have kids under the age of 8.
Exactly.
We go out in public. My kids will wave at everybody. Black,
Exactly.
Mexican, young, old, babies, grandmas. They don't care. They don't see it. That's a bias that parents put on their children. Like you, so seeing that, like you're not gonna make me believe that you're born with that hate. That ain't something.
Exactly.
That's not. I mean, because children in general are very loving, nurturing things. Like they're not hateful. I mean, they have a survival thing. Like, of course, my 2 kids fight. Like that's what they do, right? Like they're still animals, right? Like they have the survival mechanism. But that stuff is built in. And you're right, it's a systematic thing, because like I don't think we'll see it. It'll be generations and generations from now, I hope, right? Like maybe not even my kids will see it. Maybe their kids will get to benefit. And maybe not even that far. But I was talking with my wife today, and we kind of made the joke about white people and why they're so afraid, right? Like for like how you look at this in this country, white people like they hate the Chinese, the Asians, the Indians, the Black people, Mexicans, Japanese.
They're afraid because they know change is coming.
They hate them all, and it's like why? Like why do you hate all these people of color? And I made the joke. I was like, because they've persecuted all of these races at one point or another through human history for some reason, right? And I think like as time goes on and people become more woke, right? Like they start to realize things. Those people who have that mindset of like, I don't know, white pride or white nationalism or whatever, Aryan, whatever you want to call it, they start to realize like, well, wait, I think there are more of these people than there are of us, right? And I think I've seen numbers, right, that, 2030, 2040, 2050, right? The majority of America, the majority will become the minority and the minorities become the majority, right? There'll be more people of color in the United States. And for whatever reason, like that scares white people. Like the people of color who start to rise up were like, well, white people, I'm not saying you should be scared, but we all bleed the same, right? Same DNA, same tears and all this stuff. Like, yeah, you did a lot of wrong things to a lot of different cultures throughout human history. But like right now, we're just trying to, there was a quote I saw, I think it was on Black Reddit, where the lady said, the majority of Black people in this country aren't asking for a handout. Like you're confusing equality with a handout. We're asking, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact quote. She said, we're asking that when we throw our resume into a pool for a job and you see that our name is ethnic, but we meet the qualifications, you throw us out because my name doesn't fit what you want it to be, right? I'm asking to be considered for this job based on my skill set, not my name. I'm asking for my ideas to be heard and not dismissed because I'm Black. We are asking for equality, to stand on the same ground. Like I don't want this whole police reform to be based on like, okay, like let's just give them what they want. Because if the mindset doesn't change, nothing changes, right? I'm still going to be nervous when a cop pulls me over. I'm still going to be afraid for my kids and my son. Like I'm still going to have to talk about being a Black man with my son.
Yeah.
We don't want a handout. We need equality. Like I need to be able to get the same job or the same equal consideration that the white guy gets or that the white chick gets. That's what we're asking for. Like, don't confuse this with like, oh, just do this to shut us up or to get us to comply or compromise. Like, no, like we're asking for the same treatments that you give those people who have the same skin color.
See, it goes even more basic than that. Like, it goes down to just asking to be treated the same. Not just at a work or job level, but basically at a don't shoot me level. Because if you've noticed the protest, the people who are getting arrested are all Black or Mexican. They're all colored. All the one people, again, I've been following this like very closely. Like, I'm not following it through the news. I'm following it from accounts from people that are actually going out there.
Like the majority of people I've seen getting harassed and beat up and knocked over by the police have been white.
Knocked over, and yes, I'm not saying they don't get hit. What I'm saying is arrested. The people that are mostly getting arrested, I've seen.
Because if you look at some of the news, like they released a lot of the arrest reports and like names and ethnicity. It's a fair amount of young white people being arrested. And I think the reason of it is because I don't want to use the term white privilege, but that's what it is. Like white people have the audacity to do or say things that we don't. To act that way in front of a cop, to be outspoken and yell and cuss at a cop. I would never do that.
Oh, fuck no.
No.
I would never, I would, even if I know, and this is sad, right? But this is to give y'all what it is as a Black man in America. Even though I would know that this cop is lying or is wrong, like based off facts, because of the color of my skin, I would never question it. I would, yes, sir, yes, sir. Because if that's going to get me out of there with my life, that's what I'm going to do. And these white women and white dudes, like the things you see them say and do to cops blows my mind. Like, did she just
I can't.
Did she just poke him with man,
they run like, and some of the other protesters run up with a gun to them.
Even lifting your hand up to a cop. And
it's a weapon. They assume it's a weapon. Bitch, I ain't even in my pocket.
I feel like,
shoot me for pointing at you?
All you would do is and that would be it. That would be how you die. But white people have this because they don't have this fear that they're taught, right? To like fear the police or like fear these policing types of ways.
They have no reason to be.
They have no reason to. They're not taught to be that way when we are. So it's like seeing these white people, the things that they have, even with the whole mask situation, a lot of these white people throwing these fits about wearing these masks in these stores and whatnot. I wouldn't dare. Even if I didn't agree, like I do agree with wearing a mask, but even if I didn't and I felt strongly about it, I would do so quietly at home.
So shit, you're like, I can't say that.
I'm not gonna go to Home Depot and throw a fit and cough and spit in people's faces.
Motherfucker, the police getting called.
Yes, they are. They're gonna classify that as assault with deadly weapon because of the coronavirus right now.
Yeah, I'm out here getting.
No,
I ain't getting shot for coughing.
They drawing that weapon.
You got me, man. Hell no.
Actually, I got the best example of this. Like, there was another case. I forgot his name, but basically, there's the guy who was complying. He was drunk. He pulled over. the cops came to arrest him, and he was complying. Because again, they were saying, "Oh, he grabbed a taser and he shot the taser back at the officer," right? So that was a whole different story, different scenario.
Did he do that? I saw that. Did he actually grab the taser and shoot at?
Yes, after the taser had already been shot at him twice,
Listen.
and they shot him with a gun.
There are a lot of things you shouldn't be doing. Right. Listen, black, white, I don't care who you are. If you should not be trying to grab the taser of a police officer. Like, I'm not.
Like, there's a lot more to the story.
I'm not justifying shooting this man, but him grabbing the taser and then taking said taser and shooting it at the police officer. Probably not the smartest decision he's ever made.
Yeah, definitely not smart. Probably,
no, definitely. I agree with that point for sure. But I'm going with this. Like, basically, the full story went like this. At first, he was complying completely. But again, he was just pulled over, and he was drunk, but he wasn't drinking anything. He pulled over because he was drinking and driving. So he actually pulled over to be responsible. Someone called the cops on him because of the fact that he was drunk and driving.
Wait. Fred, if he's trying to be responsible, he wouldn't have got in the car drunk.
In the car, exactly.
Got in the damn car.
I know. I'm going off the reports that I got. But
he
anyway,
over because he got caught.
You better call your Uber, man.
Right.
You get into an Uber drunk as fuck. It don't matter.
No, the thing is, the cops pulled up when he was already parked.
Okay.
He'd already been parked for a while. The cops didn't pull him over. He was already parked. And he was parked in a parking spot. The cops ended up coming in to basically get him. Anyway, at that point, long story short, tussle happens. The cops ended up tasing him. And this is after a few minutes of already happening. And yes, the cops had already tried to tase him. I think the first shot missed. The second one hit. At that point, there was two officers. He tried to run away, and he tried to shoot the taser back at him, and then he got shot. The point I'm putting across is this. Whenever the cops shot the taser, they didn't count that as attacking someone with a lethal weapon. But whenever he shot the taser at the cop, which, by the way, the cop already knew was empty at this point. The cop was aware that only had two shots, and both had already been used. Whenever he grabbed the taser, it was classified as assault with a lethal weapon. Even though whenever the report was filed in that he attacked the guy in the car with a taser, it wasn't classified as a lethal weapon. But then all of a sudden he gets it, then it was.
I don't know about that one. It's a lot of gray area in that one. Like you draw.
No, there is. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he was in the right at all. I'm not saying it at all. What I am saying is there's always that bias. There's always that different thing of the system going against you. And that's the point that I'm going at.
I wanna end this on this note. I don't know.
Because we got a lot to cover today.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I've never been tased. I find it very interesting at how many people get tased and keep going.
Agreed.
Like the I don't know if you saw the boy and the girl who was driving through a protest, like they weren't a part of the protest, and the cars like broke the windows and tased both of them. Did you see that video?
I saw the video. That's just crazy. But
like they tased both of these people, and it's like they weren't fake. Like they got tased by like 2 or 3 cops, like 2 or 3 tasers. And I was like, I've never been tased, nor do I want to be tased, but I've been electrocuted before.
Yeah. Ooh, not fun.
It's not fun. I don't know how. Maybe because you're adrenaline pumping, you don't feel it. But I don't know how you get tased and you just keep going. Like you keep fighting. Because in my mind, if I to the point where I get tased, I feel like in my mind, the next step is they hit me with more tasers. And then if that doesn't work, I get a bullet.
No, I feel like if you get tased and you just say down, next up is the bullet. I don't even think there's going to be more tasers. I think you just need to stop right then and there. That's my mindset. I just need to stop right then and there. If I get tased once, I need to just, I'm down, because I'm going to get shot next.
Yeah, I'm probably getting shot. I don't get shot first. I ain't taser. I'm 100% sure they ain't. Like, that's a big one right there. We gotta put them down. Taser.
Oh.
Gotta pull a bullet in it.
Man, just thinking about that electricity just gets my mouth just that metal taste right now.
Yeah,
I remember that shit.
Cause you were there when I got electrocuted.
Yeah, you hit that fence.
Yeah, shit up. Okay, so that was that's gonna might be a clip all by itself.